Welcome, guys, to How the Frack We Got Here, a show that takes the news and events of the week to try to make sense out of it all. I'm your host, the most Will Buchanan, and on this show, we simply are all about the facts. There are plenty of news stations out there that simply want to do anything short but inform you. Here at How the Frack We Got Here, that's all we believe in. We go up to the left, we go up to the right, we go up to the middle of independence, we go up to all sides because there's more than one side of a story to everything. And you need to know it all in order to actually formulate your own opinion. And that's what we try to do here at How the Frack We Got Here. Thanks for listening, and hold on. It's going to be fun.
This is one of the main ways, which you've already said, that a First Lady has talked about. It comes with so much historical expectation. How do you feel about the fact that the First Lady is an archetype for wifedom and femininity?
Yeah, I don't agree with that. Don't agree with that. It's it is a completely throwback on. It's a definition that has no current status in how women actually show up in the world today.
Do you think that impacts the room that we've made for a woman to be president?
Well, as we saw in this past election, sadly, we ain't ready. That's why I'm like, don't even look at me about running, because you all are lying. You're not ready for a woman. You are not. So don't waste my time. You know, we got a lot of growing up to do. And there's still, sadly, a lot of men who do not feel like they can be led by a woman, and we saw it. What was the question?
I mean, the First Lady, Lotus, she's not wrong. She's not wrong. All right, guys, welcome back. Today's dates. I need to look at my watch because apparently I can't remember dates. So let's try this again. Today's date, November 19, 2025. This is How the Frack We Got Here. I am your host, the most Will Buchanan. On the Frack We Got Here, we do take the events of the week, try to make sense of it all. As we get started, guys, let you know that we do pride ourselves on being a news podcast, which means we only cite from sources with award-winning journalism. We do not do sensational news like the Fox News, the Blaze, the Daily Beats, wherever you get your extreme left or extreme right views from. We simply don't do that. At the same time, guys, we do try to watch your language, but words do fly. At the same time, we do show videos and trailers on here that might be too intense for younger viewers. So viewer discretion is advised. Aside from that, welcome. So, a lot's happened over this last week. Even more so with, Taco's not really having a good day, I guess you could say. Reason why, let's start with the fact that the Epstein files. Of course, this did happen earlier in the week.
President. Hello, everybody. How are you? Can you turn that down, please? Too much. Okay?
Mr. President, what did Jeffrey Epstein mean in his emails when he said you knew about the girls?
I know nothing about that. They would have announced that a long time ago. It's really, what did he mean when he spent all the time with Bill Clinton, with the president of Harvard, who you know, who that is, Summers, Larry Summers, whatever his name is, and all of the other people that he spent time with. Jeffrey Epstein and I had a very bad relationship for many years. But he also saw strength because I was president. So he dictated a couple of memos to himself. Give me a break. You got to find out, what did he know with respect to Bill Clinton, with respect to the head of Harvard, with respect to all of those people that he knew.
So really a lot of just deflection. Even though he did call one reporter quiet piggy, which I still think it is amazing. This man has made fun of journalists, disabled journalists. He's called women, everything short of just their name. And now, although we don't have the video of it because, should have had that up, that he did call one reporter. He just said, quiet, piggy, quiet. So what's so crazy about this, guys, is just that was before the House had voted. Now they had their sworn in Democratic representative was sworn in. They did go ahead and move forward. But strangely enough, Taco said, you know what? Go ahead and release the files. Because at first he didn't want to release them. He kept on saying, well, that's up to the AG, which again, his lapdog, Pam Bondi, who is playing AG, is simply, fulfilling Taco's wishes. So anyway, earlier in the week, because the vote just happened yesterday, he did say, you know what, release the files. I don't care, because everybody was hounding him, especially about the one email that's still being circulated around about a man named Bubba, and that Taco may have had how can we say this without not breaching any terms of agreement or violations? Let's just say that Taco had a very, or allegedly had a very interesting oral fixation. Take that how you will. Now, again, that has been circulating everywhere, but I just want to point out one thing before we get to the vote and what that means. Because, and again, this is adult. There was some suspect behavior on Taco's part, and I take it back to this one where he talked a little bit too long about a certain golfer.
Palmer. This was the home of my friend Arnold Palmer. And he loved Latrobe. You know, he turned out to be one of the greatest golfers in the world. But Arnold Palmer was all man. And I say that in all due respect to women, and I love women. But this is a guy that was all man. This man was strong and tough. And I refuse to say it, but when he took showers with the other pros, they came out of there, they said, oh my God, that's unbelievable. I had to say it.
He had to say it. Now, again, I just want to say here on How the Frack We Got Here, we are all friends, the LGBTQ plus community. Thank you for sticking with me as I try to make my way through all of the vowels and all the consonants in one vowel. We're all allies of it. So, Taco, if the allegations are true, sir, I'm not sure they're going to accept you because you said plenty about them, and I don't blame them for not ready to kick your ass to the curb. But again, questionable behavior to talk about a man, especially in the locker room, in a shower locker room. I'm just saying, if Taco winds up being a bottom, we can kind of see it. But getting away from that, yes, the House did push forward to have the files released. And as of yesterday, the Senate overwhelmingly also voted to have that released as well, as it will be explained here.
Breaking news to tell you about from Capitol Hill. The bill to release the Epstein files has passed by unanimous consent in the United States Senate. It now heads to Donald Trump's desk. Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer made the request to pass the bill by consent, and it did. Ali Vitale is available to us by phone. She's been covering this story all day long for us. Ali, what are you hearing?
Nicole, the one moment that I thought the Senate might take its time with this, and ultimately they did the exact opposite. I mean, we understood that Senator Chuck Schumer had a plan to ask unanimous consent to either deem this bill passed or to deem that they should hold a vote on it. You know the Senate so well. If all 100 of them agree to anything, they can speed up or slow down the process as much as they want. In this instance, Schumer just went to the floor in the last few minutes, asked them to deem unanimously that this had passed the Senate without any further action, and he got it. There were no objections. The motion was ordered, and now at this point, it is basically considered passed. The House still has yet to send the bill over. There's that, of course, transmission between the chambers. But once the House does that, there is no more action expected on this bill. It will go to Trump's desk after being sent by the House, after being transmitted. An overwhelming day of bipartisanship on an issue that has proven to be one of the thorniest, most complex, most bitter issues that this chamber has grappled with over the course of the last few months. Finally, and quite quickly, I think stunning all of us, the Senate dealing with this issue and now sending it to President Trump, who I think realized in the last 48 hours that this train was leaving the station and he either had to get on board or risk getting run over by it. So he has said now that he's going to sign that.
So I know a lot of people are wondering, okay, so the Democrats finally got what they wanted. They're getting the files released, although it depends. As of this recording, Taco hasn't signed that bill and it hasn't been released as of yet. So we don't know exactly when. However, what's supposed to happen is now, well, the former child trafficker and sexual predator did have seems to be hundreds and hundreds of files, and maybe other things that might incriminate people, because Taco would always love to sit there and say, well, Bill Clinton was on the island, Jeffrey Summers, his chief of staff, was on the island, other people were on the island as well. And it amazes me. It really, really amazes me. I apologize, guys. It looks like my camera froze up, so give a brother a second. But it amazes me that whenever it comes to Republicans, it's never just, oh, well, it's not just me. Other people went too. It's effing accountability. And I will never understand that. I will never understand. Just, if you were there, you were there. But admit it. And honestly, I could care less who else was there. Because again, this was an island where underage women and creepy old predators did unspeakable things, to where the victims are wanting justice. And I do not blame them. So I don't care who else is on that list. They all should be held accountable, and it's the full extent of the law. But that's also going to depend on, again, AG, Lapdog, Pam Bondi. If there is evidence there, will she pursue? I'm going to be honest with you, probably not. Because again, there is a reason why Taco seems to be very, very gung-ho. Because keep in mind, at first he was like, well, we're going to leave it up to the AG. We're going to leave it up to them. They'll figure it out. It's not me. I don't have any say in this. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. You truly, truly do. And at the same time, folks, here's the part that's a little bit scary. A little bit scary. Because keep in mind what I just said. Taco has no problem with the files now. So a lot of people are immediately thinking, okay, they must have scrubbed him. And if that's the case, that is the biggest cover-up next to Watergate for a president. He could honestly join Nixon at this point and probably take first place. But we will see what happens. Like I said, Taco has to sign the document. He can veto it, but it goes right back to the House. And if they vote it again, then he's got no choice. He has to sign it. However, again, so what if he knew if Bubba was allegedly Bill Clinton or not? Here's the thing about it. It just goes back to this whole thing of why we have in the title Rock Bottom. Because, well, Taco may be exactly that. And if he is, come out the closet, sir. It's not that hard. Well, the way you tell about Arnold Palmer, it may have been. But anyway, but here's also the other scary part about all this is that, and then again, trigger warning, because is it just me, or are Republican podcasters, commentators are really trying to rationalize pedophilia? And I know it's a trigger warning. I'm giving full warning on this because what we're about to show, again, from Megyn Kelly, who's a bitch. There's no other way I can call it. She is a bitch. She's actually something else I can't say, but I'm sticking with bitch. Listen, watch this video and trigger warning, because this is what Republicans and Republican commentators, podcasters, pundits are now doing. Which, now that these files are coming out, which we know Taco is heavily involved in them, they are now trying to rationalize pedophilia. And I wish I could make this up, but here's the bitch as she's talking.
I've said this before, but just as a reminder, I do know somebody very, very close to this case who is in a position to know virtually everything. Not everything, but virtually everything. And this person has told me from the start, years and years ago, that Jeffrey Epstein, in this person's view, was not a pedophile. This is this person's view, who was there for a lot of this, but that he was into the barely legal type. Like, he liked 15-year-old girls. And I realize this is disgusting. I'm definitely not trying to make an excuse for this. I'm just giving you facts. That he wasn't into like 8-year-olds, but he liked the very young teen types that could pass for even younger than they were, but would look legal to a passerby. And that is what I believed, and that was what I reliably was told for many years. And it wasn't until we heard from Pam Bondi that they had tens of thousands of videos of alleged, forgive me, they used to call it kiddie porn. Now they call it child sexual abuse material on his computer, that for the first time I thought, oh no, he was an actual pedophile. I mean, only a pedophile gets off on young children abuse videos. She's never clarified it. I don't know whether it's true. I have to be honest. I don't really trust Pam Bondi's word on the Epstein matters anymore. Yeah. So I don't know what's true about him, but we have yet to see anybody come forward and say, I was I was under 10. I was under 14 when I first came within his purview. Look, you can say that's a distinction without a difference.
No, it's not.
I think there is a difference. Yeah. There's a difference between a 15-year-old and a 5-year-old. Yeah. You know, it's just whatever. It's sick. Every time we start talking about Epstein, it makes your skin crawl. You right? The whole thing is just disgusting.
And yet you just try to rationalize it. This is why Megyn Kelly, outside the many other reasons why this bitch should not be considered anything but a Republican mouthpiece that literally whose 15 minutes of fame expired years ago. Just now, trying to say, well, there's a difference between, and I know I'm going to feel disgusted as I say this. This bitch just tried to rationalize the difference of a 15-year-old and a 5-year-old. Instead of just saying, no, the dude is a pedophile. He is a sick piece of work. And you, because your friend who's close to the case, because you're speaking from facts, which is bullshit, you just try to rationalize it. So what happened here, folks? Well, what happened here is simple. They're beginning to rationalize this stuff. That's all it is. That's all this is it. This is the reason why I am heavily concerned. And those who back the GOP right now should be like, no, a pedophile is a pedophile, and there's only one way to deal with them. And and it's not just Megyn Kelly. There are others out there. I didn't want to go too deep into trigger warnings. I just figured that was the safest one. There are a lot worse out there that literally the guys are saying, well, explain to me what pedophilia is on a calling show. And again, this is the part where this is how far they've gone, that they have to sit there and, the next crazy step is to rationalize it. There is no rationalizing that at all. And it's kind of funny where this is the same group of politicians and pundits were talking about Pizzagate not too long ago when Hillary Clinton was in office about a pizza parlor that was a child smuggling ring, which turned out to be false. But they were all, it's child trafficking here. But now, when one of yours in the crosshairs, we can rationalize it. No, the F you cannot. And they're trying. And it's amazing to me where I look at those that consider themselves conservative, Republicans, GOP. Are you sure you want to back this train? I mean, Nicki Minaj just gave a speech at the UN on behalf of Taco, which I expect. She's married to a predator. So it's kind of like birds of a feather. And people are like, well, I mean, she's doing something. No, she's a mouthpiece. What Nicki Minaj should have learned about the fact that maybe rap isn't her strong suit, that maybe she should have took a lesson from Kanye West when Kanye West tried to board the taco train. Where's Kanye now? Outside the sunken place. That's my point. But speaking from that as well, also another thing I got to bring up is I can't stand folks who, if you're going to join the political world, join it. Drop in. Don't dip your toe in the water and then realize it's cold and then hop back out and then go back to whatever you're doing. You don't have that ability. Stephen A. Smith, who I cannot stand. I honestly think he is going for the title of Uncle Tom held by Senator Tim Scott. I think he's going for the crown. That being said, he did something that I truly believe no journalist should do. You cannot speak from the realm of fantasy when you should be speaking from the rationalized area of facts. I'll let Mr. Blowhard explain himself.
American citizens working for the feds were not receiving a check. 43 days, the longest government shutdown in United States history. The longest before this was 2018 into 2019 under then President Donald Trump in his first term. Needless to say, the now longest shutdown was also with Donald Trump in office as the president of the United States, 45 and now 47. We can look at it any way we want to. And we got a lot of stuff to get into. And don't you worry, I'm going to get into these damn Epstein files in just a second. We can look at it any way we want to. We can slice it any way we want to. And put the number up on the screen, please, so I can see it for calling the POTUS Radio right here. Straight Shooter with Stephen A. Smith. Listen, when you look at what has transpired, it's pretty damn annoying, to say the least. You just find yourself wondering what the hell is going on. I'm still disgusted because there's no excuse for this. Now, I don't know about anybody else, and everybody's talking about, you know what, pick a side, pick a side. Damn, y'all, shut the hell up. I'll pick whatever side I want to pick. It's not about a side in this particular instance. It's about government officials in the White House, in Congress, on the Senate that didn't come together to get a deal done for 43 days and nights. We've had Speaker Mike Johnson on this show. We've had Representative Jim Jordan on this show. We've had elected officials like Hakeem Jeffries, the Democratic House Speaker. We've had them all on this show, and everybody's got their excuses. But in the end, this government shutdown needed to come to an end. And that's why I'm kind of surprised, and I don't know why I should be, but I am, that we have a situation where we've got elected officials on the Democratic side losing their damn minds, calling folks out, acting like it's a picket line that was crossed, for crying out loud. And how dare folks on the Democratic side do this? Hold down the fort. Don't cave. Don't do everything you can to make sure that the Republicans don't get the 60 votes necessary to push through a continual resolution. Now, the Republicans will have you say, and they'll remind you that when Biden, during his administration, from 2021 to 2025, they signed a CR 14 separate occasions. But the Democrats wouldn't do it during Trump's first term. They wouldn't do it now. Why? Because you're talking about the Affordable Care Act subsidies that they were trying to stretch, things that were put into place because COVID came along, by the way, that had an expiration date of December 31st, 2025, that they wanted to extend into perpetuity. And the Republicans weren't going for that, which everybody knew, because Trump has been after squashing Obamacare since 2014, 2 years before he became president the first go round. So why in God's name would he do anything to push forward with Affordable Care Act, ACA subsidies for another year, another 3 years, another 5 years? Why would he do that? It's one thing for them to do it during COVID. It's another thing entirely for them to do it now. We knew he was going to hold down the fort. I don't blame folks like Fetterman out of Pennsylvania, or anybody else for that matter, from New Hampshire, from Pennsylvania, from Nevada, all the elected officials from Nevada. I don't blame them one bit. I side with the Democrats who ultimately crossed the line and said, yo, this is killing the American citizens in our district. And what the Democrats, to me, are not realizing is that you're essentially confessing to the fact that this was a plan all along, that you had every intention of the government being shut down, that you knew there was no way in hell that you were willing to capitulate to anything involving the CR that the GOP put forth to you. From last spring, when Chuck Schumer wouldn't go along with it and didn't produce a government shutdown, to this time around where he obviously took a different position, at least publicly. because he's afraid to lose his power in his Senate seat because he hears the footsteps of AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, creeping up behind him to take over his Senate seat in 2028. We know what's going on here. We know what's going on. But in the end, to me, when you're talking about 42 million people on SNAP that were in danger of not being fed while Thanksgiving is approaching, when you see the inordinate amount of flight delays that have taken place because air traffic controllers ain't at work in abundance, some being furloughed, some being let go, folks wondering about whether they will get paid retroactively, which ultimately this new CR is supposed to resolve. All of those concerns are legitimate. All of it. And they said, no, we can't go for that. We can't go for that. And just for the record, you see the screen right there. In regards to the shutdown, 45% of registered voters think Republicans in Congress are more responsible for the government shutdown. 39% think Democrats in Congress are more responsible, and 11% volunteered that they think both parties are equally responsible. Among independents, 48% think Republicans in Congress are more responsible. 32% think Democrats in Congress are more responsible. 14% volunteered that they think both parties are equally responsible. If you're the Democrats, that's good news. Because considering how you got blown out during the 2024 election, these numbers would be considered improved numbers. Because now you're gaining traction. We saw you win the mayoral seat with a socialist in New York City. We saw you win gubernatorial seats in New Jersey with Mickey Sherrill and with Abigail Spanberger in Virginia. So if you're the Democrats and you're having those kind of wins, even though everybody and their grandmama knew those were blue states and they weren't going to lose to the GOP in those states, the bottom line is you think you're gaining traction. And because you thought you were gaining traction, you're willing to sit out even longer. What was the reason for that? Because you want to regain power, which I'm not faulting. But when we're talking about the American people suffering during the shutdown, spanning 30, 40, 43 days, and we talk about people not being fed during Thanksgiving holidays, and we're talking about travel nightmares, and we're talking about people being furloughed, and we're talking about people having to work for the federal government knowing they're not receiving a check, while elected officials on Capitol Hill over these 8 weeks were receiving checks, still maintain their medical coverage, weren't accumulating bills that they couldn't pay. This is why people find themselves disgusted with politicians. So to listen to them and to hear them disgusted at themselves is not a bad thing. Good.
So I stopped it right there because after about the first 4 minutes, he just sounds like a reverberating beatbox. But it is amazing to me when it comes to this blowhard that he never speaks from an area of fact. It's his opinion, which again, he's paid to give his opinion, although 90% of it is wrong most of the time, but he's paid to give his opinion. But that being said, it's amazing to me where he does mention, again, with the Democrats not releasing the files when they had the chance, the Epstein files. So this is the part where it really, and you would think Stephen A. Smith is a journalist, at least that's what he calls himself, would learn to do his research. Well, thankfully, Roland Martin points that out and also brings receipts.
Stephen A. says, maybe I'm missing something. You are. Then he says he's an extraordinary producer, and maybe they could research it. Yeah. How about you do the damn research before you go on the air on an epic rant, Stephen A? Like, I don't understand why Black people or other folks with shows don't know how to do research before they open their mouths. What you just heard is misinformation and disinformation. Do you know who corrected Stephen A? Somebody named Julie K. Brown. Julie K. Brown is a reporter for the Miami Herald. It has been the Miami Herald that has done amazing reporting on the Epstein case. We know about all the details of what's happened with Jeffrey Epstein, the previous deal being cut, the sweetheart jail deal he got because of Julie Brown and the reporters of the Miami Herald. This is what she tweeted. This is a complicated case with a quote, all caps, a lot of files. So I know it's easy to confuse what's what. What Stephen doesn't understand is that the emails released Wednesday are from Epstein's estate. They were obtained from Epstein's lawyers pursuant to a subpoena that was issued by the House Oversight Committee, lawmakers. These documents are separate from the criminal case files held by the DOJ and the FBI that Trump and Bondi, the Attorney General, promised to release after the election. As for why Biden and the Democrats didn't release the criminal case files, Maxwell, Ghislaine Maxwell, the associate of Jeffrey Epstein, Maxwell's criminal case was still open during the Biden administration. She wasn't convicted until late 2021, and then she appealed her conviction. Generally, it's not a good idea to open your evidence files when a criminal case is ongoing. We also don't know whether the FBI was still investigating other possible suspects who helped Epstein or participated in his crimes. If you are still targeting suspects, you don't want them to know you are zeroing in on them. This is what I keep trying to tell these people who are in media. When you have a mega microphone, you need to be judicious with how you use it. You need to be careful with what you say and how you say it, and you need to have your facts right. So when people are in listening to you, they're taking cues from you. And so all of a sudden, folks are going, oh my God, what the hell were Biden and the Democrats doing? They couldn't release them because they didn't have them.
Again, and Roland Martin, which again is a guy who has been in the news for, forgive me, Mr. Martin, I want to say almost 30, 40 years now. I'm not trying to call you old. I'm just calling you very well seasoned. So if you do ever, so Mr. Martin, if you ever do see my podcast, I'm pretty sure you're 40 years in the business. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not trying to call you old. I'm just trying to say I'm using the video as a very simple point that all Mr. Martin did was literally did what Stephen A should have done, which is your freaking research. That's it. Had he did his research instead of saying, well, I don't know why the Democrats didn't release it when they had the files, because they didn't. Because it's an ongoing case. And again, a simple Google search would have saved a crap load of time. It really would have saved a crap load of time with that. Really and truly, it would have. But at the same time, it just seems that whenever it comes to certain people, when I say affluent people, they really shouldn't speak. Really shouldn't, because the reason why I say that, because there's one out there particularly, and I say one out there particularly because, well, how can I explain? How can I explain this and do so in a way where I don't sound condescending? But yeah, Pharrell, let's just. There's no other way I could say this except just to go ahead and play it. But Pharrell has a certain opinion about DEI, and you can only do this if you got money, apparently.
like this platform. It's a magic trick that it's not real. I don't believe in either side. So I think when you pick a side, you are only, you are inadvertently supporting division. Yeah, it's not a popular point of view, but I just gotta say that. Think about it. The wells are drying up, and then, okay, now the diversity's off the table, now equity's off the table, now inclusion's off the table. So that makes me ask myself, okay, so how do we survive? Well, are there black people in there tonight? Yeah. And in your heart, do you think for what it is that you do and who you are, do you think you're the best? Okay, so do you want the job because you're black or because you're the best? Do you want someone to support your startup because you're black or because you're the best? Right, so I think now for me it's about us having the best ambition. That's the reason why you should support these businesses. Yes, they happen to be black and brown, but it should be based on the thesis that we're the best, not because we are a total shade of a skin color. That's a point of view that I have now that I'm resting on. And if diversity, equity, and inclusion ever comes back in style, cool. But in the meantime, I'm going to focus on being the best because I can bank on that. Because that's what's going to get you the position. Where, I don't want you to give me anything. I want you to panic and not let me out the room because I'm the best.
Yeah, I was going. That's the look I had. That look right there. That's the look I had. Pharrell, I respect you, really and truly. I do. As a musician, accomplished producer, and you have done a lot of great things, and I get it. I understand it. This is probably the time you need to shut the frack up. The reason why I say that, guys, is basically because DEI is not a handout. I don't know. That's the conservative talking point. DEI is a handout. No, DEI just levels the playing field. Okay, it does. Because for a lot of people that don't understand, or those that were actually born in the 40s and back, who lived through the very turbulent time of the 50s, the Civil Rights Act of the 60s and 70s, the ones that understood how hard it was to get a higher job or higher position, and still do. But if it wasn't for DEI or affirmative action, however you want to call it, it wouldn't have people looking our way, because DEI forces companies to look at everybody, because you cannot depend on a single company to be honest about where it looks for talent. You can't, because if that's the case, we would never have a Negro baseball league. Honestly, baseball teams were not looking, and I use sports as an analogy. Baseball was not looking at black players during the time of the National and American leagues at the time they were playing. They were not looking at black players. They were not looking at black baseball players. So what happened? The birth of the Negro League, where you had the Monarchs, where you had the Black Yankees. You had other teams to where Satchel Paige, Jackie Robinson, we had other, names known then, right? And then what happened? Jackie Robinson eventually crossed over, and Ranch Ricky did bring him in, but he was being honest. I brought you in and others because you will fill seats. You will bring me money. At least he was honest about the shit. But what happened eventually? What we know now. For the longest time, Major League Baseball was dominated by black folks. I mean, now it's a mix, and it's a beautiful mix. But again, it takes something like DEI to force other companies to look and sit there and say, you just can't hire said folks. Well, that still sounds like a handout, Will. No, it's not. Because if you've ever been in a corporate room, HR has a small policy. And I'm just going to be honest with you. And if you're in HR and you work in a corporate office, you can deny it or you can agree with it. It's up to you. But you all guys have a quota. You guys have a quota. You have to have a certain number of women. You have to have a certain number of people of color. And you have to have a nice mix. And one is borderline acceptable. Don't believe me? Look at the top Fortune 500 companies and see how many people of color are on their executive board. How many people of color are CEOs? How many people of color are CIOs? How many people of color are CTOs? How many people of color are VPs and senior VPs? I guarantee you can count most of them on one hand. But imagine if someone sat there and said, well, maybe you don't need DEI anymore. Who benefits more? I'll tell you who. White people. White people, when it comes, and again, I'm not all white people, because some of y'all are seasoned and we appreciate y'all. Y'all are allies. The rest of y'all are just straight up mayonnaise. The point I'm getting at is white people never had to struggle to be seen or noticed for opportunity. People of color had to be fucking exceptional. We had to be damn near magical. We had to be damn near perfect just to be seen. Not given an opportunity, just to be seen. So yes, Pharrell, talking about, well, DEI comes back, then cool, but I want to be selected because I was the best. Let me be honest with you, something, Pharrell. Weren't you the same cat about a decade ago calling for a federal investigation of your relative's murder? Now imagine DEI wasn't available back then, and unfortunately, your relative was still 86. And if you weren't the mega superstar producer that you were, would that door even be open for you? Because I think a lot of people who are well off in life get it mixed up that, I did it through hard work. No, a lot of you guys did it through luck and opportunity. The same opportunity that DEI afforded you. See, that's what DEI is. It's not a handout, it's opportunity. You still got to prove yourself to keep yourself in whatever position you go for. But it's the opportunity that you get. Because beforehand, it was an opportunity that you would not get unless you were white. But if you're not white, well, you tell me, because last time I checked, DEI is removed right now, and the only people that have lost their jobs in great majorities are people of color. Yet white people are not complaining about the current job market. Funny how that works, huh? But moving right along, guys, Marjorie Taylor Greene, I'm just going to play a little bit of her because there is a shift going on, and it's a shift going on in the Republican side as well as Democratic side. But Marjorie Taylor Greene, I'm going to be honest, I'm not buying what she's selling.
I turned to my weather app to check the temperature and it was 32 degrees. And my first thought was, hell has froze over. I want to speak goodness and love and hope into the women standing behind me and all of the other survivors whose names you don't even know, but stand with these women. They are survivors, and they are strong, and they are courageous, and they are daughters of God. They are not victims. These women have fought the most horrific fight that no woman should have to fight, and they did it by banding together and never giving up. And that's what we did by fighting so hard against the most powerful people in the world, even the President of the United States, in order to make this vote happen today. I was called a traitor by a man that I fought for 6 years for. And I gave him my loyalty for free. I won my first election without his endorsement, beating 8 men in a primary. And I've never owed him anything, but I fought for him for the policies and for America first. And he called me a traitor for standing with these women and refusing to take my name off the discharge petition. Let me tell you what a traitor is. A traitor is an American that serves foreign countries and themselves. A patriot is an American that serves the United States of America and Americans like the women standing behind me. And I want to tell you that this only became possible today because the American people whom we serve as representatives here in Congress demanded that this vote happen, and they put more pressure on every single elected politician in this city than has ever been put on them. And today you are going to see probably a unanimous vote in the House to release the Epstein files, but the real fight will happen after that.
So let me just go ahead and say this because it just needs to be said. It's Marjorie Taylor Greene. How can I put this ever so nicely? This only happened, and I say this only happened because she was running for a Senate seat in Georgia and was wanting to get Taco's blessing, and Taco said no. So now it's revenge tour. I stand with the victims. I'm calling out everything. I'm going to be the insider. You're still Republican though. See, my whole thing is it's just like Senator Fetterman. It's like Senator Fetterman. You're not a Democrat. You are a Republican. Why not just completely step down, run as a Republican, and then we'll believe you. Same with Marjorie Taylor Greene. Step down from the Republican Party, run as a Democrat, and then we'll see. Because right now, this feels more like a revenge tour. This doesn't feel like I have seen the light. This doesn't feel like, oh, well, I'm going to show you because hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. Okay. But I don't believe it. At the same time, she even hear it. Because let's not forget, Marjorie Taylor Greene was the same woman that went after Jasmine Crawford, was the same woman that spouted QAnon conspiracies, was the same woman that that said that the COVID virus was Chinese made, repeating the same things that Trump was saying when we were in the first stages of COVID. Oh, well, let's not forget, the infamous, I'm coming in dressed up like everybody else that's ever been to a UFC fight and booed Biden during his State of the Union address. And now all of a sudden, because you don't get what you want, you're suddenly a champion of SA victims. I'm sorry, MTG, miss me with the bullshit. I just think you're doing what every other politician does. Self-preservation when you see the ship is about to sink. And so you can sit there and say, I got to life raft first before the Titanic went down. And trust me, that iceberger's coming. But that's just the Republican side, because we're seeing people in there, and don't get me wrong, we've seen people on the Republican side change colors too, and then next year they're gone. So I would not be surprised if the same thing happens to her, because again, Taco has sat there and said, she's disloyal, she's a traitor, all this stuff, things a dictator would say. But going to the Democratic Party, because I want to talk about two people, because I sat there and said on this previous podcast, previously, the Democratic Party needs to change. That I do think it needs to have women face. I think women need to lead in charge. I do think the Democratic Party needs to be more progressive, needs to be more bold in what it wants to do. And some people may scream socialism, but hey, socialism is actually what got us out of the Great Depression, for all those that don't remember, or too young to be there. That being said, we are seeing two challengers move forward. Both of them, Hakeem Jeffries and Tennessee Representative Steve Cohen, are facing new challengers. I'll start with Mr. Hakeem Jeffries for a second. This man right here, Shai Osi, or She Osi. I apologize if I've destroyed your name, but this man is running to challenge Hakeem Jeffries' seat. This is the same man that did actually back Zohan Mamdani during the New York mayor race. And again, he wants to he's a part of the Progressive Change Committee that he's also co-founded, believes that Hakeem Jeffries has not done enough. And I've sat there and also said that Hakeem Jeffries may have not done enough. Sure, he gave a historical speech while trying to prevent the big, beautiful bill from going through. But when it comes down to it, there were some things that he voted for that seemed sketchy at best. And now Mr. OC is wanting to challenge him in the next primary. And again, it's what I said. Now, outside of a woman moving forward, because I think there's plenty of women in the Democratic Party that really need to take the charge moving forward. Because just like former First Lady, or I'm not going to say former First Lady, and now in my mind, she's still the First Lady, Michelle Obama sat there and said, you guys aren't ready for a woman president. You have a lot of growing up to do, because a lot of men do not want to be led by a woman. There's a lot of men out there that will rather have an idiot as president than a capable woman being commander-in-chief. And I keep on saying, like I say at the end of all my podcasts, I hope it's a black woman that's president. That's just me being biased, because a black woman has saved this country. White women only save white men. hence Megyn Kelly at the beginning of this podcast. But that's not the only race, because again, out of the Tennessee 3, Representative Justin Pearson, the man right there with the wonderful afro, will be challenging Steve Cohen, the man to his right there, to also his representative seat. Now, for all those that remember, Steve Cohen is 76 years old. I keep saying all the time that no matter if it's Democrat or Republican, Congress is basically a nursing home with power, that there should be term limits, that it shouldn't be lifetime appointments. It honestly should recycle people out to make sure that Congress is always moving forward with new ideas and fresh people. Steve Cohen is very rigid, I guess, because he believes that Representative Pearson is not ready, although Pearson has been outspoken in many of his policies, especially while helping Memphis, at the same time calling out the things that his own party has done, as well as with the Republican Party. As I've said there and said it before, guys, progressives need to take charge of the Republican Party. I have said it once, I've said it again, I will continue to say it because it needs to be done. It's just that freaking simple. But another thing that we do need to bring up, guys, is just that, well, with now, because of the vote that they had, because, thanks to the hateful 8 of those Democratic senators that gave Republicans what they needed to basically get the government shut down alleviated, only with the promise that we'll do a vote on extending subsidies for the ACA and Obamacare, which again, as we all saw, promise fulfilled, nothing happened, and they weren't willing to talk about it. So these hateful 8 include Sederman and Tim Walsh, just two of them out of the 8, may or may not have their seats next year, rightfully so. But for the rest of us, there is a sinking fear about premiums, and the next 2 stories after that will actually unfortunately confirm that fear.
And these
Texas, New Mexico, and Nevada were among the bottom. And so the states that ranked the lowest often had a high number of people who had to skip or delay care. And states that were in the top often had an easier time getting health care when and where they needed it. They also had an easier time getting the prescription drugs, having access to a medical provider, and things such as that, services.
I mean, obviously, we're just coming out of this government shutdown where Democrats really wanted to draw attention to these subsidies and their subsequent expiration next month. Berkeley, talk about what about the Republicans? They've got this health care measure and their new big, beautiful bill. How will that help people when it comes to health care?
So there's a lot of concerns about the big, beautiful bill. So that bill will impose Medicaid work requirements nationwide beginning in 2027, and there millions are expected to lose coverage. So it's important to note, though, that many will lose coverage because of red tape and paperwork and not because they don't qualify. So there is a lot of concern there. And then, of course, we have the Obamacare subsidies that are set to expire at the end of the year, and millions of people are expected to lose coverage from that. And so right now, Republicans in the Trump administration are talking about fixing Obamacare or coming up with an alternative for the plan. So we'll have to wait and see what they come up with. But we're approaching a deadline right now towards the end of the year before millions of people are expected to see either higher premiums or going uninsured right now, Vicki.
All right, Berkeley Lovelace.
So the reason why I talked about that, with premiums going up, possibly double, because trust me, I did mine we did our insurance for my family, and yeah, it's gonna be rough all around. But the one thing I want to point out with for a second, guys. So the one thing we need to worry about, guys, is that with healthcare comes very certain scary scenarios, especially for women of color, specifically Black women. So the next two story, guys, I'm going to say right now, these are trigger warnings because unfortunately, when it does come to the care of women in this country, especially pregnant Black women, we still unfortunately run into situations like this. You've been warned.
The couple to welcome a happy, healthy baby. This is not the kind of experience they would want for any expectant mother. Breathing through her contractions, Mercedes Wells was wheeled out of Franciscan Health Crown Point Hospital Sunday. Her family says hospital staff had just discharged the mother of multiple children, telling her to go home and wait for her labor to progress.
My daughter's in active labor, and this is a Franciscan Crown Point being put out in active labor.
On Sunday morning, I woke up to frantic texts from my mother saying, call me as soon as you wake up.
Sharice Thompson says she knew her sister-in-law had been admitted to the Northwest Indiana Hospital, but didn't expect what she would hear next.
But my mother was screaming like, your brother just delivered his baby. Your brother just delivered the baby. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
After the Crown Point Hospital discharged Mercedes, Sharice says her brother Leon escorted his wife back to the truck to find another hospital. 8 minutes into their drive, Leon and Mercedes' daughter was born on the side of the road, delivered by her father.
He grabbed like a blanket and then put the baby on Mercedes' chest, my niece on her chest, and drove the rest of the way to the hospital, to Munster Community.
Doctors at Munster Community Hospital took over, providing the care Sharice says Mercedes pleaded for in Crown Point.
Mercedes begged her. She begged her. And she said, no, I'm really in active labor. I can feel it. My contractions as I walk. I mean, my pain, I'm telling you, I can feel it. And she just ignored her.
The family now calling for accountability.
I want there to be some sort of change so that other families don't have to experience this.
If it implements change, it implements strength, and it implements courage in other women that's going through this, then that's what I'm looking for personally.
Franciscan Health Crown Point Hospital saying in part in a statement, the video and comments it has generated are deeply troubling, and we understand the concern this has raised. The video is just one part of the information we are reviewing as part of a thorough investigation into this alleged incident.
Yeah, alleged incident. Meaning we're trying to make sure that we covered every part to where we can't get sued. That's all it is. We're trying to cover every part to where we cannot get sued. And I say this, guys, because I'm a guy. I will never know the stress, the pain, the unbearable sensation that comes with bringing a child to this world. I will never know that. Okay. I was fortunate enough to see my wife twice bring our children into this world, and what she went through, and I tried to be there as best as I could. I will never try to take over or alleviate or sympathize with it. I will just support that. But it is amazing to me. And again, I'm not a medical professional. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a nurse. I'm not a healthcare professional. But I would think if a woman is pregnant and she's having contractions and she's in active labor and she looks like she's about to give birth, excuse my language, but why the fuck are we questioning her because she's Black? Why are we questioning that? Even more so, we sent her home. We were going to send her home and say, come back when you're farther along. How really messed up is that? How messed up is that a woman is in active labor, and because, I guess, from the doctors and nurses there at the time, made the call to sit there and say, well, she's just not that far along. Just come on back. Come on back when you are. That's the part where I cringe a little bit, because this is supposed to be hospitals. This is supposed to be the Hippocratic Oath. Above all else, do no harm unto your patient. That patient care comes first. That literally we are instructed that, hey, if anything happens, go to the ER for immediate urgent care, because you never know what could happen with the baby or the mother. And they did that. And that was in Indiana, right? So you're thinking, okay, it's Indiana. There's another one. This happened in Mesquite, Texas, where, again, trigger warning, guys. Trigger warning, trigger warning. A expecting mother who is in excruciating pain, and the lack of care given by this nurse as she's asking questions. Trigger warning. Go from there.
11. What? How many times have you been pregnant? 3. This is your 3rd pregnancy? Yes. You have 2 babies. It's in my ass. You have 2 babies at home. Who's your doctor?
Lang is her doctor. Y'all treat all your patients like this or just the black ones? Her due date is the 10th.
Her due date's the 10th.
She got 3 pregnancies, 2 babies at home. I bet y'all listen next time. When you found out you were delivering at this hospital, your ass should have changed doctors.
So I stop it right there because that goes into commentary, which the thing that bothers me, guys, outside of seeing a black pregnant woman in pain as she's in active labor. She's in active effing labor. Active effing labor. Mind you, active effing labor. And the nurse is just, well, how many kids have you had? Are they at home? Who's your doctor? When's your expecting date? The woman is in effing pain. Anybody who's ever been in pain before, and again, for all women who have given childbirth, please educate me. Please educate me. Because I like to think the way it was told, the way it was explained to me by a woman about giving birth, he's like, you ever try pushing a bowling ball through a garden hose? Nope. That's how it feels. Ever since the woman told me that, if she says she's in pain, I effing believe her. Ever since then, when a woman sat there and told me, you want to know what pregnancy is? Pregnancy is pushing a bowling ball through a garden hose. And it's constant pressure on you. Ever since then, I have never sat there and when a woman says that she's in pain, oh, what do you need? We're going to the hospital. What do you need? What do I need to do? I'm all about her care at that moment. That nurse was not about her care. That nurse seemed very nonchalant. That nurse seemed very out of it. That nurse acted like she didn't care. Now, that's an ongoing story because, again, that was in Mesquite, Texas. And, of course, the state spokesman for the hospital, we're looking into the situation, which means they're trying to see how they cannot get sued. And the reason why I bring both those stories up, guys, and I don't mean to scare people. But that is the reality for women of color, for black women, for women of color, especially black women, because, again, the mortality rate, the mortality rate for black women is high because they are not seen, they are not heard, they are pretty much written off, they're not listened to. That's why when my wife said, I want a black doctor, okay, cool. I didn't ask no questions. Because, again, you want a black doctor, you would want a black female doctor to really listen to you and listen to your voices and concerns. Because I'm going to be honest with you, as much as I respect those in the medical profession, there are a lot of you out there that are so just either burned out or just don't care about your job that when a woman of color comes in and says she's in pain, you kind of dismiss it. And if she's pregnant and she's in active labor, why is she not immediately taken to the labor and delivery ward of every hospital? See, I'm gonna be real with y'all guys for a second, because the reason why this sits so close to home to me, guys, is that my second son, my middle son, he was about to be born, right? We go to the hospital, but initially we were going to the hospital because he was a little bit early. My wife was experiencing high blood pressure, immense headaches, couldn't stand up for long periods of time. Right? We had went to the hospital. Okay, I wasn't bullshitting. I wasn't playing no games. I said, let's go to the hospital. She was, I think she was about, I know when she watches, she's probably going to correct me because sometimes I'm not very good with numbers. I think she's about 30 weeks along. I think she was right at either 29 or 30 weeks, one of the two, or she might have been a little bit earlier than that. But again, she was a good ways along. So I know when my wife sees this, she's probably going to correct me, but that's okay. The reason being, she's in immense pain. She can't really function well. We're at the hospital, right? So they're trying, it wasn't we didn't wait long. It was like, we called her OBGYN. Her OBGYN was like, take her ass to the hospital now. Straight up to labor and so we didn't, do not pass go, do not collect $200. We went straight up to labor and delivery. They got her in a room. They got her hooked up, checked everything, started giving her meds, right? Then they gave her Oxy. And Oxy for a while did work, but the headaches came back, the pressure came back. And they gave her Oxy again, to which now I'm concerned because Oxy is a pretty powerful narcotic. And I was a little bit concerned because if you're giving somebody Oxy and the pain only disappears for maybe an hour, hour and a half, that's a problem. Thankfully, and I say thankfully, we had a nurse who went to bat for my wife because the doctors came in and said, well, I mean, we can give you Oxy, but see if we can stabilize you because it looks like it worked for a little while, but we can give you more. There was one nurse who literally took it upon herself to go, wait a minute, how much Oxy have we given her? And she still? No. She went to the doctors. And I guess she must have hounded the ever-loving crap out of them to the point to where, and again, if you're wondering where our OBGYN was, they were actually on vacation at the time of this when it occurred. But she comes back in with the doctors. The doctors sat there and said, you're having this baby today. Because if we had waited, and again, if we waited, because I when I see that situation would happen with those two Black women, I think of my wife. I think that if the same thing could have happened to her, where they would have sat there and say, they would have sent her home with a prescription for Oxy and said, just take this and you're gonna have to ride it out. I only can think that I might not have my wife. I might not have my son. I don't even want, that situation always sticks out in my mind. If it wasn't for that one nurse, and I wish I had gotten her name. If there's one thing I take away from my son's birth, I wish I got back and I got that nurse's name. I wish I could go back and thank her. I wish I could go back and say, 2 years ago, you saved 2 lives. 2 years ago, you saved my wife's life and my son's life because you were bulldoggish on getting the doctors to listen to my wife. And again, I wish I could remember that nurse's name. I have tried 6 ways from Sunday to try to locate her, try to track her down. Because if you ever see this podcast, I want to say thank you. Because you listened to my wife's concerns. You went above and beyond and got on the doctor's ass to the point to where they came in and said, you got to have this baby today. And yes, our son was born. He was a little early, which means he had to go in the NICU. But after he was born, my wife's pain, pressure, sinus buildup all went away almost instantly. And I just think about that. And the whole time I'm in the NICU watching my son get dressed, and I'm happy, happy that my boy he was crying and crying and whatnot. I was crying because again, it's my child. But in the back of my head, I was sitting there thinking, if that nurse didn't do what she did, this could have been a whole different scenario. I tell that story, guys, because when I see stories of Black women not being listened to in the medical field, I can sympathize. because we could have had that situation if it was for somebody. So yes, Black women and care need to be emphasized much greater than what it is now. Because seeing a Black woman had to give birth to her child on the side of the road where the husband has to do his best to keep two people calm while getting his family to the hospital, to get to another hospital because another hospital refused care, or the fact that another woman is sitting in pain as the nurse, has no sense of feeling or self or care that this woman is in immense labor pains, says a lot that we have not come far enough for Black women's concerns and care when it comes to medical care is not fucking heard enough. That's just being honest. But moving right along, guys. Again, before we kind of get to our feel good segment, it seems Taco either has seen the light or realized that tariffs don't work as he is rolling back some tariffs. Who could have called this outside of everybody that understands tariffs except that idiot?
Just about everything. The Trump administration says it's going to start rolling back some tariffs in an effort to start bringing prices down, specifically at the grocery store. Daily items like coffee, beef, certain kinds of fruit, they've all seen the highest price spikes so far this year. Our Elizabeth Schulze, along with our economic analyst, Mark Hamrick, join me now for more. So, Elizabeth, what will rolling these tariffs back actually do?
So hopefully, Kira, it means a little bit of relief in the prices of some of those groceries, especially the ones that you saw on your screen there, coffee, bananas, oranges. Those prices have really skyrocketed over the past year, in part because those are products that we don't make a lot of here in the U.S. And the hope is that when those tariffs are lowered, that means it's cheaper to import them. And hopefully that means cheaper prices that you pay at the grocery store. But that is still in some ways, Kira, a big if, because I've been talking to a lot of food analysts about this. The question is really, do grocers decide to cut those costs once they've already gone up? You might see the grocers say, well, look, people have still been buying these products, even though the prices were higher. What incentive do we really have to bring prices down at this point? So while we might not see prices go up as fast, we might also not really see them come down. It's just a question of, does the level actually go down, or is it sort of just maybe not as big of price increases that we've seen over the past year or so?
Well, it's easy because we're basically just saying, what we are saying at this moment is, yes, if food costs go down, if the tariffs go down, that means food costs should go down. Well, that doesn't say anything because grocery stores control pricing. So grocery stores are willing to do price gouging. Well, people have been paying this amount for now. Why not keep it going? You're just admitting the fact. You are right now admitting, for the simple fact of the matter, you are admitting that you would rather fleece your customers dry. The Congress could put something in place. They could. You could put something in place to actually hold retailers and grocery stores chains to a fault. You can, because again, if Taco really does care about getting the cost of food down, then all he has to do is do what he's always done. He says something and his lackeys try to make it legal, even though most of the time it's not. But these tariffs, guys, were basically his problem. He said tariffs will generate American profits. They will not. Americans will these tariffs will bring back American jobs. They haven't. They will bring back manufacturing. They haven't. Because again, Taco has failed to realize one thing. America is not a great exporter of goods anymore. It is an importer. 80% of what we usually get comes from overseas. Your fruit comes from Mexico and Canada. Your grapes come from overseas. Your textiles, your clothing, your electronics, all of it comes from overseas. The greatest export that the U.S. has at this moment is soybeans. And right now, our biggest buyer, China, isn't buying the way they want to and is easily going to other places like Brazil. And again, if farmers who are always in trouble whenever it comes to the Trump administration are already begging for help because they have plenty of inventory and nobody's buying, which again could lead to several farm closures. When it comes to Taco, again, when it comes to him, he creates the problem, then tries to do the hero route and solve it at the same time. wants to take credit for a problem he created. Again, it makes no sense, but we'll see how the prices go. And the last story, the guys that we do got before we get to our feel good segment. Again, the Saudi crown prince did visit the White House this week, and well, this question was asked, as it should have been.
Mr. President, is it appropriate, Mr. President, for your family to be doing business in Saudi Arabia while you're president? Is that a conflict of interest? And Your Royal Highness, the U.S. intelligence concluded that you orchestrated the brutal murder of a journalist. 9/11 families are furious that you are here in the Oval Office. Why should Americans trust you? And the same to you, Mr. President.
Now, who are you with?
I'm with ABC News, sir.
You're with who?
ABC News, sir.
Fake news. ABC fake news. One of the
But the
worst.
question is
One of the worst
sir.
in the business. But I'll answer your question.
Thank you.
I have nothing to do with the family business. I have left, and when I've devoted 100% of my energy. What my family does is fine. They do business all over. They've done very little with Saudi Arabia, actually. I'm sure they could do a lot. And anything they've done has been very good. That's what we've done. We've built a tremendous business for a long time. I've been very successful. I decided to leave that success behind and make America very successful. And I've made America more successful by far than it ever was, and that it ever could have been, no matter who was president. There would be nobody bringing in $21 trillion, that I can tell you right now. As far as this gentleman is concerned, he's done a phenomenal job. You're mentioning somebody that was extremely controversial. A lot of people didn't like that gentleman that you're talking about. Whether you like him or didn't like him, things happen. But he knew nothing about it, and we can leave it at that. You don't have to embarrass our guest by asking a question like that.
Just you ask Mr. President,
Please,
you allow me to answer. You know, I feel painful about, the families of 9/11 in America, but, we have to focus on reality based on CIA documents and based on a lot of documents that Osama bin Laden used Saudi people in that event for one main purpose, is to destroy this relation, to destroy the American-Saudi relation. That's the purpose of 9/11. So whoever buying that means they are helping Osama bin Laden's purpose of destroying this relation. He knows that strong relation between America and Saudi Arabia, it's bad for extremism, it's bad for terrorism. And we have to approve him wrong and to build our relation, to continue developing our relation. It's critical in the safety of the world. It's critical against extremism and terrorism. About the journalists, it's really painful to hear, anyone that been losing his life for, no real purpose or nothing illegal way. And it's been painful for us in Saudi Arabia. We've did all the right steps of investigation, etc. in Saudi Arabia, and we've improved our system to be sure that nothing happened like that. And it's painful and it's a huge mistake, and we are doing our best that this doesn't happen again.
So what's crazy about this, guys, and I say this with all certainty, number one, Trump is really full of shit. Number two, the Saudi prince, it's already been concluded that yes, he did orchestrate the assassination of then journalist Khashoggi. He did, above all else, call for that man to be murdered in his own embassy. And it's funny where, again, he's like, well, the 9/11 families of 9/11 are furious. Well, as they should be. But what a lot of people don't understand is when it comes to Taco, he is compromised. The Saudi family has bought him wholesale. Dubai has bought him wholesale. China has bought him wholesale. He is the president that should have almost he's a president at this point that should be having a NASCAR-like jacket of all the countries, individuals, and corporations that have bought him, because that's exactly who he is. And Jamal Khashoggi was murdered at that embassy. And no matter how the Saudi prince tells it, the only reason why he's considered important is basically because the oil fields that he sits on, the oil field that his country sits on. So yes, calling everybody fake news, Donald, I hate to break it to you, Taco, that song is getting old. That same poll that you have, not there anymore. The threats that you have about upseating Republicans that won't follow your bidding, that bite doesn't have the same sting anymore. It's starting to close in on you, Taco. And we already know that you got no problem going down on a man named Bubba. We just don't know if you and Hillary couldn't be having a rendition of Monica and Brandy's song, The Boy Is Mine. I'll leave it at that. But we're going to go on and move on to our feel-good segment, guys. As usual, how the fact we got here, we do cover a lot of things that are doom and gloom, sometimes making you faith humanity. But hey, it's Wednesday, tomorrow's Thursday. We will leave you guys out with some good vibrations, and hopefully the next week will do just that, as next week is Thanksgiving, whether you celebrate it or not. It's a good time to check on family, watch terrible football games, eat good food, and just enjoy being around each other. But I understand with this right now, with food and SNAP benefits, things of that nature, it's a little hard for families to go around. This man decided to, start off with a food bank in his front yard, and led to great things.
My kids and I woke up this Steelers Sunday and decided to do something good. My boys and I started a food pantry.
That food pantry sits right on A.J. Owen's front yard in Pittsburgh, filling a need in the community as food assistance shrinks for millions of Americans due to the government shutdown.
I had one person say, "Oh, well, I have enough for 1 or 2 days, so when that's gone, I'll come over." And I said, "No, come now."
It started with a $150 grocery store run and with an old tote box that used to hold Christmas lights, putting the pantry together with help from his 2 young sons and sharing it all online.
We got our list here. Thank you to my 7-year-old. Salad dressing, vegetables.
The posts garnering millions of views on TikTok, his neighbors taking note and giving back too.
Are you kidding me? There's no name. It just says, "May God prosper and bless your food pantry." We're really not letting people go hungry, man. My body started shaking. I started crying. And this was the best cry ever because whatever you want to believe, an angel truly, came down and blessed us that day. And we've been doing good ever since.
AJ creating a ripple effect of kindness in the Steel City.
People need to eat. People deserve to be fed. It's no different than me inviting you over to my house for dinner. Come on, grab a meal, grab a drink, whatever you need. I'm here.
AJ is here, whatever you need. He says he thinks he's helped over 100 families. He was shopping recently. He saw a couple of women in the store. They saw what he was buying. He explained what it was for, and they just gave him $100 right there in the store to help out and pay it forward. And if you are in need of food assistance or you want to help out, use the QR code on the screen. You can find resources in your area. It's great to see people helping their community.
Yeah.
It never ceases to amaze during these kind of times when people step up.
And I love that we have a QR code to get involved.
Yeah.
You guys can.
And again, that's beautiful. That is. No matter how you look at it, guys, the one thing we can actually say that we do as a society sometimes, and I know right now it's dark, it's ugly, it's disgusting, but sometimes there's those little moments, man, where just folks, if you come together, you could do amazing things. You really can. And shout out to that man for just simply paying it forward, for just, doing, just trying to help. And that's what we should take away from that, guys. And again, with Thanksgiving next week, first and foremost, Sunday, take out your damn turkey. If you are cooking turkeys. If you are cooking turkeys, if your turkey's been in the deep freezer, Sunday is the day you take it out. Just word of warning. And also, if you're going to deep fry your turkey, please do it outside, away from your house. 1 gallon of peanut oil is enough. Trust me. You don't want to have the fire department show up at your house because you decide to be fancy and decide to do it indoors. Outdoors, far away from the house, 1 gallon of peanut oil, defrost the turkey take out the turkey by Sunday. That's all I'm saying. Save a house. But also, if you have the ability to help somebody, do it. Now, I'm not saying don't break yourself trying to help somebody. Only if you can do a little bit. It doesn't have to be a lot. If you can do a little, cool. If you can do a lot, cool. But if you have the ability to help somebody, do so. That's how we get by. Because again, it takes a village, man. And everybody, like I've said before many times in this podcast, no matter how far you think you're up, we're always 1 or 2 paychecks away from really needing help. And again, if you have the ability to help somebody, please do so. The world can use more of it. That's going to do it for this podcast, guys. Do thank you all for watching, for liking, for letting know when this is up and live. I certainly appreciate that. Shameless plugging before we do get out of here. Shout out to APR TV. Why? Because How the Frack can be seen on APR TV on the Roku channel app or Amazon Fire TV, along with other shows that are available on this glorious network. Definitely check it out at APR TV or alwayspressrecord.com. BlurStation.com is a streaming service for content made by us for us to enjoy. Definitely check them out, BlurStation.com. Also, hit the join now button if you do want to sign up. $10.99 a month to stream Blur Station. $10.99 a month to stream Blur Station on all smart devices. Trust me, you will not be disappointed. Also, guys, also in the Blur community, guys, we unfortunately had a tragedy where a cosplayer had taken their own life due to online bullying and things of that nature. Bullying is never okay. And at the same time, just over cosplaying, somebody taking their own life is always sad because it affects everybody else that life is touched. So again, for all those that cosplay, let me say this. Let me do this first. Thank you. So for all those that cosplay, wear what you want to wear, be what you want to be. But don't let someone bully you. Don't let someone bully you to the point to where you're by yourself or you think you're alone. You're not alone. You're not alone. You do belong here. You matter, and you're needed in this wonderful play we call life. With that being said, guys, if you do need help, definitely check out the 99988 Lifeline or other helpful hotlines and programs in your area. Because again, I would rather, and I say this all the time, and I know it's been said before, I would rather listen to someone talk 100 times if it helps them through that dark light, that dark time, than go to their funeral once and wonder what I could have done. So again, guys out there, for cosplayers, if you bully cosplayers, you're full of shit. At the same time, guys, for those, you're not by yourself. You're not alone. Please reach out. And also, love somebody. Love somebody. Tell the people in your circle you love them. Check on your people in your circle. Even if it's been a while, call or text. Because you never know. Hearing someone check on you may save a life. It really, really might. But at the same time, guys, let's not wait till the end of the season to suddenly remember that, we should check on people. Always check on your people when you can, but do so consistently. But yeah, love somebody. That also being said, guys, you can definitely check us out on How the Frack We Got Here on YouTube as well as Facebook, but specifically YouTube. If you type in How the Frack We Got Here podcast, that actually will show up, which I'm very proud of. You can hit the like, share, and subscribe to the notification button, so anytime that we do go live or we do upload something, you'll definitely be notified. But again, we thank you for the support, guys, because simply put, we could not do this. None of this is not possible without you. Also, check out my other video game show, the Get Bit Podcast, with my other cohorts there. We usually cover everything from video games to comics to mangas and things of that nature that do happen in the pop culture world every Friday at 8:30-ish. Definitely like, share, and subscribe as well, guys. You'll be able to actually see all our shows from there. But definitely the notification button, so you'll definitely know when we go live. As for myself, guys, Black_Spartan615 is my personal social. You can like and follow me there. Just don't make it weird. I don't want to get in the habit of blocking people. And again, guys, next week is Turkey Day, Thanksgiving. We will not have another show for the week of Thanksgiving. We will be running a rerun because why? Look, at that time, people are traveling, getting things together. Hopefully nothing happens, but if something does happen, we will cover the week after as we go into December, where Mariah Carey has fully de-thawed. Yeah. No shade to Miss Carey, because you get a check every year and it's fat. I'm not knocking you. But with that being said, guys, I just want to reiterate, at this time, if you can't help somebody, please do so. At the same time, if you find yourself in that dark place, please reach out. Check on your friends, check on your loved ones, because right now it's that time of year where it can be rough. It's already a hard time, but we all can get through this together until all are one. That's my favorite that is honestly my favorite Transformers quote, till all are one. Just saying. But with that being said, guys, last thing I say about How the Frack We Got Here, it's all about staying informed. We are not trying to reinvent the wheel. We are simply giving you all the information, allow you to make up your own mind. But we do provide a lot of perspective that comes along with it. We do better as society once we're informed. We're progressive. We move forward. We try to right the wrongs of our past by making decisions now that we should have done back then. like electing our first black woman Supreme Court, electing our first black woman as the Federal Reserve governor, and maybe one day, hopefully, if it's not Miss Michelle Obama, electing our first black woman to be called Madam President. All great things. When we don't learn from history, we are doomed to repeat it. That's what we keep asking ourselves. Why does everything go up but our paycheck? Why are we electing different politicians but still the same old game in Congress? And most importantly, how the frack we got here. Thank you all for watching, guys. Please take care of yourselves and each other, and I promise we'll all get through this. Live long and prosper, guys. Yep, I'm a Trekkie. We'll continue saying that. Peace.